What if I told you that you might not be manifesting the legacy that you want to build simply because you don't have multiple streams of income? I'll tell you a story about something that happened to me that changed the way I saw creating my legacy forever. This goes all the way back to the early 2000s. I was building a very successful internet marketing company, one of the very first that existed. I built that into a multi-million-dollar company, literally on my own, cold calling from the yellow pages, setting my own appointments, and closing deals. Eventually, I garnered the interest of several other corporations that were being publicly traded and needed a cash-rich company to put on their sheets so they can actually increase their bottom line and move up potentially into NASDAQ. A lot of great meetings preceded that. I ended up doing that deal, and eventually I walked away with a large sum of cash. What I did from there would change my life and the way I perceived generating income and money forever. So the first thing I did was I predominantly had generated a lot of my revenue through email marketing. This is prior to the CAN-SPAM Act of 2004. And I probably would send out about maybe 2 to 3 million emails a day. And I had some of the largest clients in America: Nations Bank, Bank of America. I had Ameriquest Mortgage, Novastar Mortgage, Countrywide Mortgage, a lot of big accounts. I was generating refinance and mortgage leads for these banks, and they were buying them to the tune of anywhere between $50,000 to $60,000 a week worth of leads. I was making decent income for that time period. The problem that I had was I knew that it was time to evolve into something else, especially once I went through the acquisition phase, especially when the CAN-SPAM Act came out of 2004, and nobody really understood exactly how we were going to be able to consistently generate the same amount of leads with all of the new email regulations that had been put on us. In the very beginning, switching into that regulated email was so expensive, hardly anyone was able to make any money. So I pivoted out of that, and the pivot was into real estate. So now it's approximately 2005, almost 2006, and my great epiphany was, hey, real estate will never fail. See, I didn't do my research, and I started putting every penny I had into real estate. I ended up probably with somewhere close to 400 properties all over the United States at one point, and things were going very good. I was really investing a lot into pre-construction homes. I found that the pre-construction homes were really, really good, very easy, and didn't require a lot of stress because I didn't have to worry about fixing them up. I didn't have to worry about passing inspections and all those things, and bid wars for the property. You simply went with a builder, gave a deposit, showed your pre-approval for the mortgage. The builder would build the house, and then 18 months later, you have a closing. Now, what I was doing was initially I would just going with one builder, particularly Adams Homes, which was doing phenomenal. They were building everywhere, middle-income homes all over the United States. And I would give them $5,000 down, and they would build a house up to $250,000, $300,000, well within the FHA limits. I knew I can easily find buyers for those properties. So I started that process, and I would have them building 15, 20 homes for myself simultaneously at a time by giving them these deposits. And then what I would do is I would find a buyer for the house before it was completed, and then I had a title company helping me do something called simultaneous closings. So I never really had to get the mortgage. I would just flip the property right at closing from myself straight to the end user, straight to the retail user. And then after 3-day right of rescission, my share of the income from the sale shows up in my bank account. It was the easiest money I could ever make. So because that was so successful, I really, really bought into real estate and realized, hey, I can make billions of dollars doing this. I started buying land and started selling land to developers and also people looking to build homes on this land. And everything was going very, very well, except, again, I didn't do enough research on what was happening with interest rates and understanding this housing bubble that was looming. Long story short, we all know by 2008, at the height of my business, the real estate bubble popped. And when it popped, I mean, it popped hard. It put me in a very, very bad situation. predominantly, initially what happened was a lot of the pre-construction homes that weren't completed yet, they didn't get completed. And then all of the homes that were done but pending sale, those sales never happened. Nobody can get approved for a mortgage. And then, of course, all of the land that I had was still out there. Now, the only thing that was my saving grace for a small period of time was the land. Land was still out there and able to be sold on loans as long as I went with one bank that was doing it. That was Countrywide before they went out of business. So Countrywide kept me in business. It kept me going while everything else was like paused. And I figured out a way to at least monetize that to cover all my other expenses and all the other mortgages that I ended up getting stuck with. Eventually, Countrywide had some major issues and the feds forced a sale. They ended up selling to, I think, Bank of America, or they got absolved by Bank of America, and they kind of disappeared. And obviously, along with that, went the loans to the land. So now here I am stuck with all these properties and all this land. I spent so much time, effort, energy building a very successful business, working to get an acquisition, working to get my company sold, taking my exit, walking away with millions, only to give it right back to the system. Talking about devastation, you have no idea. It was so bad. I was living at the time in a mansion that I had built. I had 5 cars, living a great lifestyle. At that time, I was married with kids, and 2 of my kids are daughters. And, you know, women, they like to spend a lot of money. So they're always buying something. And they had gotten used to being able to pretty much get whatever they wanted when they wanted it. To go in there and tell them that, hey, you can't go shopping this weekend. You can't go shopping next weekend. You can't go shopping any weekend, right? Just for right now, because you know things are going to be getting very tight. Now, even though they could see companies and businesses closing all around us, all the shopping plazas and malls were emptying out. Businesses were shutting down everywhere. Their minds could not conceive that this could be happening to us, and they couldn't understand that we were also being heavily affected by this collapse. So there was a little bit of anger and frustration there, as well as anger and frustration from my wife at the time. And I ended up getting blamed for the collapse. I was getting blamed for the collapse of the real estate market. I'm trying to explain that this has nothing to do with me. This is much higher than me. This is on a level so high you can't even conceive it. It's not affecting me. It's affecting pretty much everyone. I had to consolidate my cars from 5 down to 2. I know that sounds like, ooh, wow, you had to go from 5 cars to 2. But for me at the time, it was a big thing because I like cars. You know, I don't drink, sell drugs, do drugs, hang out, go to clubs, party. But I like watches and cars. So I ended up consolidating my vehicles and consolidating my spending habits, you know, tighten up the budget significantly. I ended up still staying in the house. So years prior, I had been homeless, before. I didn't get to that level, but I definitely took a major, major hit. And I remember sitting down in my home office one day, just sitting back in this reclining chair I had, just going, man, why in the world is this happening to me? How did I get in this situation? I literally had my life laid out. I was so happy. I was excited. I felt like I was on a path to building an incredible legacy and that nothing was going to stop this and I'd be a billionaire in the next 10 years. And then all of a sudden, it all came to a screeching halt. And I couldn't understand, again, why. I was vibrating high. I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was taking care of my family. I was, collaborating with people. I was being helpful, being of assistance. I had, helped build a YMCA in the city that I lived in for the kids. I had started sporting programs. I mean, I was doing everything, volunteering at schools and you name it, coaching USSSA basketball and volunteering, coaching AAU and Junior Olympics and all these things. And I was like, why? What could I have possibly done that can allow me to be caught up in this snare? And so initially, just like most people, I took the victim mindset. I was why? And then this lasted not too long, probably for about maybe about 2-3 weeks, just trying to figure out my next move and how I was going to pivot. Things and companies were shutting down so fast everywhere I turned. People that I knew, my friends within my city, were losing their homes, one of my good friends, I drove down the street and I saw all of his stuff outside of the house in the front yard. I mean, this is how long it had gone to where people were really losing everything. And some of their stuff was being put out into the street. I felt like I was in the Great Depression. You know, it was really, really scary at one point. I really didn't have any idea where to pivot to because so many industries had been affected. I was really trying to find out and understand what career or what move I can make to sustain the level of income that I was making, but also to be able to get into something that was functioning during that major collapse. It didn't seem like there was much there to do. So I also had to analyze where I would get money from to get into something else, because it takes money to make money, you know? And I already paid my dues and started from scratch several times. This was one of my greatest comebacks, building this internet marketing company and e-commerce development. And then now here I am back at ground zero, not knowing my next move. So one day I just sat down again and I said, snap out of it, Billy. Just snap out of it. Stop worrying about the why, and let's focus on how we're going to solve this problem. And when I switched, the moment that I switched and acknowledged that I was a victim, that I was playing the victim mindset, and I was blaming and worrying and whining, the moment that I realized I was doing that and shifted into solutions mode, everything changed. Ideas started popping in my head. I started focusing on solutions to my situation and all these incredible potential ideas. So I got a piece of paper out of my printer upstairs. I went and grabbed a pen and I started writing all this stuff down. And I started seeing that there were some potential opportunities and some things that I could pivot into if I just, had a couple dollars. So like I told you before, I like cars and I like watches. Those are my two biggest loves in terms of, materialistic things that I like, just my hobbies. And I had to make another tough decision. The only thing that I had of any value that I could have sold either would be the furniture in the house, and doing a house auction for furniture during the time when nobody had a home to live in and people were getting in foreclosure probably wasn't the brightest move. Nobody's going to buy that stuff. The only other thing I had were cars. The cars were being leased, so I don't own cars. I only do business leases because they're better for tax purposes, so can't sell the cars. Other than that, the only thing I had of any true value outside of that were my watches. And so I had 6 Rolex watches, and I took those Rolex watches and I sold them. And I took the money from selling those watches and leveraged that money into a brand new business. So I went into the mobile app business. And so that's where my mobile app company was literally formed out of desperation, selling my watches to generate enough revenue to bootstrap my own business in mobile apps. And I said to myself, okay, the mobile apps, I'm just starting out, getting some clients, doing pretty decent. But again, I felt like, how am I going to learn my lesson from this situation that just happened to me? What lesson can I learn? I feel like I'm on the right track now. Revenue is starting to come in slowly. I'm getting some clients and some accounts, but I'm saying to myself, okay, so now I'm out of internet marketing, technically with the email marketing laws. Nobody had figured it out yet still by that time. It had been a few years and nobody still really mastered out the new system yet, unless they ran through illegal proxies out of China. And I didn't want to buy proxies in China to send email spam out. And also the violation is jail time. Who wants to go to jail over email marketing? Forget about that. The other option was, the real estate that I did and buying these foreclosures. I had just had such a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't want to take another penny of my money and put it back into real estate at that time. It would have been looking back now, it would have been a great deal to buy that dirt cheap, all those REOs, and made a lot of money on those dead properties. But in hindsight, yes. But at the time, I had PTSD from those from what happened to me in real estate. And I said, what can I learn from the situation? Because I went from one industry to another industry, and now I'm in another industry, and it's only one way to get paid. Like, I'm only getting paid from this one source. If the mobile app business goes down, then what happens? And that's when I had the epiphany. I said, the biggest lesson that I learned from the whole real estate collapse was this: don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Stop relying on one stream and source of income. You must diversify. So I went to the bookstore and I started researching on diversification, building a portfolio, generating multiple streams of income, generating passive income. Okay. And so again, yes, the bookstore, because was the pre-ChatGPT, pre-Google, pre-all that era. You had the big fat monitor on your desk, the CRT screen. There wasn't a lot of data on the internet yet like you have today. You had to really go do real research back then. So went to the bookstore and started reading books. I started helping myself. I started investing knowledge into myself in the field where I was struggling. And I began to realize and see that my biggest downfall was the fact that I did not set up multiple streams of income. And so from that moment on, I made it my mission to always have more than one source of income. That way, if one is struggling or one goes down or some kind of crazy collapse happened in one area, at least I have a chance that some of the other areas of business would still be able to generate some revenue. And once I had that epiphany, that's all I needed, because I realized something else. Every so many years, every 8 to 10 years, there's going to be another major catastrophe. They're going to fabricate something, or they're going to make something, or they're going to surprise you with something, and you have to be ready for it. If you only have one stream of income, you could be out on the street. I remember the millennium bug came. Oh, when it turns from 1999 to 2000, everything is going to shut down. The whole world's going to stop because the technology can't handle it. There were TV shows about it and documentaries about it, and they scared the crap out of everybody. The stock market went down and all these things, and guess what? We all survived on the morning of 2000. And then after that, of course, we had the 2008, the real estate collapse, which was brutal. Some people didn't survive that. I actually had 2 friends that unalived themselves because it was better for them to get that life insurance money to their family, in their opinion, not in my opinion, unfortunately. And other executives around the world also did a lot of unaliving, unfortunately. And then after that, we saw Ebola. I mean, you just keep going, swine flu. And every so many years, just another thing, Gulf War, this, that, 9/11. I mean, you just keep going. There's always something that's going to come to affect the economy, to affect your business in a negative way. But if you have multiple streams of income, like the book told me, then you have a chance. You have a chance to survive these situations. So I said to myself, this is what I have to do, multiple streams of income. So as I was developing these mobile apps for companies, I began to realize, these companies that I'm making these apps for are making an absolute financial killing. They're making money hand over fist. I said, why am I making apps for these companies when I could be making apps for myself and I can have the money? So I said, okay, I had gotten to the point where after I made my last client's app, I said, line in the sand. From this point forward, I'm only going to create apps for myself on my own ideas. And I started building my own apps and making my own apps. My very first app that I created was very successful. I designed a mobile app that allowed high school students to speak with college coaches, bypassing the NCAA guidelines, because it was through an app, a mobile app. No laws or rules had existed. And a college coach can download that app, install it on their device, keep track of the player's scores, stats, games, highlight video, and then through the app itself, allowed two-way messaging. And at the time, it was revolutionary. And not only that, Kelvin Taylor, son of Fred Taylor, got so many offers through that app, and eventually he went pro to the NFL. So the app was part of the catalyst of someone even using that process to go pro. And the app made news all over the United States. It was a big thing. And I saw the success of just that one app. So I proceeded to then make app after app after app, and each app was a different company generating income. So now I had the technology as the backbone, but the revenue source was individual businesses all bringing revenue back to me. If one industry went down, I had this one. If that industry went down, I had another one. I had 4 or 5 chances to continue to generate revenue for myself. And that's when I saw the benefit of multiple streams of income and also a combination of passive income, because some of these apps were generating money passively for me. This is a big lesson that I learned, and I learned it the hard way. And so by listening to me and understanding what I'm talking about, you can actually skip that hardship if you understand what I'm talking about. There are so many ways to generate passive income and build a future and a legacy for yourself. I've done this now for so many decades. Right now, I currently have 13 streams of income. 13 streams of income every single month. There's money coming from somewhere, somehow. And guess what? There have been times where one stream has kind of died down or didn't do that well, or this stream didn't do that great. And some had accelerated beyond expectations in those same months, balancing everything out. Without the multiple streams of income, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today. Living the life of my dreams, living in the house of my dreams, driving the cars of my dreams, traveling the world, wherever I want to go, when I want to go, taking people on tours, incredible tours all over the planet. Again, it only was able to be done simply because I thought about what happened to me in the past. I analyzed it. I looked for the lesson, the L for lesson, not the L for loss. I learned from it, and I pivoted and made a change in the way I operated. These are the types of lessons that I want to teach you in the Forbidden Knowledge Academy, and so many more. There's over 100 hours of modules of teaching in there by me and my coaching team. We also have a brand new 4BK Ascension Mentoring Program as well. So I want you to click the link in the caption of this video or in this audio or in my bio, and make sure you go and join the 4BK Academy ASAP. There's so much more I want to teach you, but you got to come into our exclusive community of over 1,200 beautiful leaders that are there to hold you accountable and help you reach the highest levels and help you become the best version of yourself. Peace.